Hey everybody, Jillian here with a Bible journaling process video. Today I'm going to be working in my brand new ESV Interleaved Journaling Bible, and I'm so excited. I've never used one of these before, and I have a whole page to play around with. Today I'm going to be using Brave Little Tailor's Print and Pray Shop set, The Living Word, along with some notes that I took as I was reading through Leviticus last fall. And I have this whole page to fill up with my notes and Taylor's adorable pieces. Now this card here says praying the word, but I don't want to use that sentiment. So instead here I have on the memory dex card a bunch of typed words that I'm going to use like wordfetti to cover it. And this one says context because I want to journal about the context of this passage in Leviticus 19. And I'm going to use my tiny attacher to get that stuck together. I really love Taylor's set because it walks you through the inductive Bible study process, which is what I use, and she gives you great tools like these to Bible journal what you're learning and kind of walk you through that inductive process. I'm just showing you here that I'm going to use these two stamp sets today. They're old and no longer available, but I hope you don't mind that I'm still going to use them. I like them. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp this little hand with a heart in the middle of it. A couple places on the page, I think it's such a great illustration for what I'm going to journal about today. And then you can see on the page, I kind of have things laid out where I think I'm going to use them. So in the last half of Leviticus 19, this is where we see the laws regarding, like starting in verse 19, you shall keep my statutes, you shall not let your cattle breed with a different kind, you shall not sow your field with two kinds of seeds, nor shall you wear a garment of cloth made of two kinds of material. So these might seem odd to us since we frequently wear clothes that are a blend, right? But they served a purpose. And the more that I study the Mosaic Law, the more fascinating it becomes. And so it might seem like boring or gross even to read some of the law that's in Leviticus and Numbers, but the more you learn about it and we see how God is reflected in it, as far as requiring justice of the nation of Israel because he is just. So when you kind of look at it that way, it personally became so much more rich. So here I have a Bible mat and I am lining up black alphabet stickers, different sizes, different fonts across the top to spell out the second half of my title, which spells the word distinction. And I had to make sure that it was spelled right because it looked weird to me. Before I go ahead and get those alpha stickers down, I'm going to take off the sticker release paper on the back of each one of those pieces and get them down. So here I'm just double checking to make sure. And I'll get each one of these guys down. So the purpose that these types of laws served was to keep the nation of Israel distinct from the nations around them, which were people who practiced polytheism. Next, I'm going to stamp down this word remember with some pink ink, and then get these paper pieces in place so I know just where it's going to live. And then I decided to add some washi tape, so I'm going to use this black cross washi tape, which is really fun. It's a great neutral, and I'm going to layer this in a few places. If you noticed nail polish on my thumb, I had injured my thumb and had a band-aid on part of it, and when I took my nail polish off, that part was covered by the band-aid, so the nail polish didn't come off. So that's why my thumb looks weird. I really like printing elements on clear sticker paper like those florals so that you can put them down first and then put a cardstock element like this little box on top of it, and it's just a really easy way to layer pieces, and you can see Taylor's beautiful florals peeking out from under there. And then I'm going to add this black and white cross washi in a few places on the page. Next, I am going to take my Illustrated Faith journaling pen and I am going to draw a box around some of the verses that I'm journaling. I may have made my box too big. I don't think I was really referring to this whole passage when I was journaling. Oh well. And then I'm just writing here, all the laws that had as their design a ritual distinction between Israel and the nations have come to an end because those nations are now being folded into the very people of God. So when we talk about the Mosaic Law and how it relates to us today. It's kind of what I'm journaling about. I found a really helpful resource. I think it was on Desiring God, titled, it was a transcript of a podcast titled 5 Ways Jesus Changes Our Relationship to the OT. So if like Old Testament ethics is something that interests you, like which laws do we follow today as modern 21st century Christians, that's a great read. Or if you're like, why don't we adhere to any of this, that would be a helpful resource to you, because it was for me. I've been reading this book lately. It's called The Bible in World History, and this is really what prompted me to create this page. So I'm just giving you a little flip through here. It very much looks like a textbook, but it's very interesting to read, especially if you like history like I do. This might be fascinating to you. So like I mentioned, I read through Leviticus last fall, but I'm only now journaling this because I read something in this book that made me, that like doubled down on this idea of ritual distinction. So I was learning about just exactly what those other people groups and those Canaanite practices were that were like detestable to God, and it really explains this idea of Israel's distinction. And so in this box, I'm writing a quote from that book. So if you're interested in that book, I'll link it. So I want to put a little something extra here. The page is still looking kind of bare, so I'm going to go back to Taylor's Florals and just take some of these branches off of this one floral piece and put them in a few places. I picked up an Interleaved Bible because I've been kind of like in a creative funk, and I thought maybe having a whole page and not just a 2-ish inch margin would help things, and it's been really fun so far. I've been leaving a lot of white space, as you'll see. The thing that I had most heard about the Interleaved Bibles when I was like talking to some friends about picking one up was that, well, I just don't know how to fill up the whole page, or I get intimidated by the whole blank page. So I'm kind of thinking of approaching this from like a scrapbook point of view, where I would come to a blank 12 by 12 piece of paper and fill it up with photos and memories and crafty things. To make this page pop a little more, I'm going to add some of these bright puffy crosses. I want to cover up that spot there because the branch ends there and it's kind of weird and I notice it. So I have this little white box of kind of like finishing touches. I have the puffy crosses in there, these enamel hearts, the enamel hexes, things like that. I put a heart there for now. It's going to move. Then I'm going to get out my trusty Bible mats and some black watercolor and add some black watercolor splatters. I've been doing these on every page in here. It helps fill up some of that white space and kind of move your eye in a triangle when you put it in 3 places like this. I decided to move that heart and put another one of these little fun asterisks almost from Taylor's set down here. I'm definitely going to be printing off this set like 6 more times because it's just such a great resource. I'm going to want to have a bunch of these little cards like pre-cut and ready to go for me just to grab one the next time I sit down to do a Bible page. And you can see how many of these little like florals and things like that I've used. So definitely going to need some more of those also. I decided to add a date stamp, but put the wrong date on there, so I'm going to try that again. There we go. And that's it for now. I ended up adding a couple more things off camera, but let me know if you guys have any questions. Everything I use will be linked, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on Leviticus, what you think about this book, and whether or not you love it. So that's it. Here's a finished look at my page. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.